I think we're live. Let's see who we got here. Bears Without Ears, what's up? Hey, Beth. Beth's coming to the UK retreat, having thoughts like, why am I doing this? Feeling a bit of a spiritual imposter and coming just to have that joining and feeling. Any ideas how to work with this? Yeah, the feeling of being an imposter feels so personal, right? Like you're the one that's faking something, but it's not you that's faking anything. It's the thoughts that are faking it. But the feeling of being an imposter, even though it feels so personal, is actually a shared experience. These feelings of like personal shame around me and my secret and that I'm lying and all the doubt feels so, again, personal, but it's all impersonal because these thoughts are like, they're like a program that's running in the human psyche collectively, strangely. So it's good to even verbalize. Just saying that out loud is probably helpful. But I will tell you that you're fine. You're not an imposter. You're not what you think you are, but you're not an imposter. Underneath it, there's probably fear, right? There's just some fear, which is fine. Fear of the unknown, which is fine. Fear, curiosity are essentially the same thing, right? Fear is the portal emotion to the magician archetype, right? The magician archetype is the archetype of transformation. So when we move into a transformational period or space in our life, or a transformational event is occurring or going to occur, it's totally normal to feel fear. But when we realize it just means that there's some change coming, then you realize, oh, it's okay. Yeah, you'll do great. People who have never been to retreat, even people who have never meditated, I've had at retreats, they do fine. Yeah. Yep. It'll be an experience for sure. And I'll look forward to seeing you there. Remind me that you said that when I meet you, because I forget to connect people, especially online usernames with the retreat. Thanks, Beth. Hey, Ashley, good to hear from you. Good to see you. Lorraine, hello from Florida. Nicola from the UK. Dahlia, hello. Let's see. Dahlia also in the UK. Oh, will also be at the UK retreat. Wonderful. Hey, David and Elaine, good to hear from you. South of England. Greetings to everyone. You guys are so friendly always. Tamiko, good to hear from you from Ireland. DVD Mom from Virginia. Good to hear from you. Trevor from Lorraine. Oh, no, I'm sorry. From Lorraine. Hi, Lorraine. Excuse me. Trevor knows Lorraine. Fradatat from Rome. All right. I don't know if I've met Fradatat online here before. DVD Mon. Oh, I already said that. Lorraine. John. Howdy, John. Jill from Asheville. Hello, Jill. I visited Asheville one time. I really enjoyed it. It's a really cool town. Cool place. I have some friends there. Yeah, really cool. Monique from Florida. Hello. Trevor. Daniel. Pamela, hello. I'm not on the wrong page again, am I? No, you're good. That was me on the wrong page last time, I think. Let's see. Lorraine, hello. Again. Jennifer Santos, what's up? Saw you a couple weeks ago. Jennifer dropped by she wasn't in the retreat at North Carolina, but she dropped by and said hi to everybody. We all know her from being at retreats, but also being one of the facilitators with the Zero Distance crew. Yeah. So anyway, it was really good to see her. Good to see you. JB says, I've had some spontaneous tastes of expansive beingness, for lack of a better description, but I haven't been able to figure out how to orient to it as a practice. It comes out of nowhere. Yeah, I think that's fine. First of all, I'll read the rest of your comment, but when these experiences of expansive being come, it's very easy for us to grasp onto them. It's very natural, especially when it's like, I've never felt anything quite like that. Never felt anything that peaceful. We tend to grasp, but understand that it's very easy to get to overlook the fact that it's a thought at one point, right? So we have the experience of expansiveness, but the memory of that is not expansiveness. The memory is thought. So then we have a thought about it later and it's like, oh, I want to get back to that. but the conditions aren't there in this moment for expansiveness. So just work with what's there, right? What is there? If it's not expansiveness, well, what is there? Right? Sensation, consciousness, thought, the space between thought, sense of me. I mean, what's there, what's not there? What is presence? Right? Well, first of all, it's changeable. Presence is definitely changeable. It's endlessly fluctuating. It also is free. Presence is free to feel anything. So there may be a feeling of expansiveness. There may be a feeling of contraction. And neither one is better than the other. Realization isn't about always feeling expansiveness. That's just the big first phase of it, is this movement into this kind of expansion. But realization's about clear seeing. It's about truth. So just trust that whatever's appearing is already okay. It's already what should be here, and it's the best possible practice. The rest of the question, though, says there seems to be an immediate recoil I can't control. It's obviously always the case, but still, I could use some advice on how to orient. Yeah, the recoil, again, is like the mind kind of simultaneously goes, ooh, I love this expansion. It feels so good, right? The mind will sort of say that, or the experience feels good and expanded, but it also feels like it's not in control, right? The mind also simultaneously feels like, oh, this isn't something I can contain in thought. And when you know you can't contain it in thought, the mind just gets a little itchy. It doesn't really like that so much. So it tends to like recoil from it, even though at the same time it sort of feels like it wants it. A simpler way, I've said this before, is you could say the ego tries to do two things, right? It tries to feel better. Of course, it wants to feel better. We all want to feel better. Why would we want to feel bad? So the ego structure, identity structure, the false identity structure wants to feel better. But there's something it wants a little more than to feel better, and that is to survive. So it kind of has this biphasic relationship with experience where it may indulge in experience, or not even indulge. It may really experience a kind of wonder with experience momentarily, or you do that's not that thinking process. But then the thinking process kind of co-ops it, and it says, oh, that's too much. Like, too much, can't handle that much expansion, or it seems to grasp for it. But either way, it's not really happening. It's neither recoiling nor grasping. That's just thought. That's just how thought feels. So it's okay. It's totally okay. You didn't do anything wrong. You don't need to find the recipe to get back to it. You don't need to find the recipe to keep it next time it happens. It will happen more and more frequently as you practice earnestly and with what's actually happening in the moment. That's a great question. This one is from, this is Gareth. Hey, from Sydney. Good to hear from you. This one's from Daniel. How to deal with don't believe your thoughts and the emotion triggered by it. Is the thought a hallucination and the emotion real because it's the body's response to it? I wouldn't worry about which one is first and which one is second, because early on, it will always feel like the thought comes first, the emotion comes second, that the emotion is caused by the thought. It's almost impossible not to see it that way for some time. So what, right? But what I do find is after some insight, you start to see the opposite. The emotion is actually there first, and the thought is triggered by even the conditions just starting such that you're going to feel a certain emotion. Like the conditions of that are there, or the emotion's just very subtle at first, and the thoughts just get going to pull you out of the emotion. It's like a stress response to emotion. So the emotion is I would consider it here more of a physical sensation. And your money's in the emotion. The money's there, right? Money meaning that's just where your most bang for the buck is, as far as if you're directing your attention, directed into the sensations, into the feeling. I talk about this in my book, The Relationship Between Thought and Emotion, and the spectrum of emotion as far as we mature and so forth, if you haven't read that. This is Ashley. I felt that imposter feeling on my first retreat the first time I went as well. I'm sure I'm sure, I don't even remember, it's been so many years, but it's almost like, how can you not, right? You just think of any time you've had the first day at work, where you have, especially a new type of profession that you haven't done that job before. You have no idea what you're doing. You just feel like so out of it, right? So out of sorts, like, I'm never going to learn this. I don't know what's going on. I shouldn't even be here. Like, I had it when I started medical school. The kind of imposter syndrome, it's pretty typical when we start to enter an unknown experience, an unknown space, an unknown phase of things in our life, and a retreat is no different. But you won't feel that way probably after 1 or 2 retreats. You'll start to feel very different about it. Yeah. All right, this is from Federico. Hi. Feel like I want to drop all the awakening stuff, the goal of getting it, the non-duality, the no self. Good. I want just to be here. Wouldn't that be funny if just by just being here, all that stuff just clarified? Yeah. The idea of achieving all those gets in the way. I can't let it go. This is where videos like the kind of expression like Tony Parsons and Jim Newman kind of shine. When you just you can't for some reason let go of the mental version of awakening, of what you think it's going to give you, right? The thought-based version of it. And I understand it. This definitely trips some people up. My Zen teacher would have told you something like, you need to get leverage on yourself. One time, I remember I was in a sesshin. Was it the end of a sesshin or a teisho? I don't remember. It was some part of a talk my teacher was giving, and we were all in the Zendo. Everyone was sitting. Back then, we all had our robes and our cushions and everything. We all looked the same. We were all sitting on the cushion. And I remember someone coming up and asking my teacher, a younger guy, and he said, I felt a lot of gusto for this. I felt a lot of sincerity around awakening and all that. And he said, but lately it's really started to wane. Like I don't know. I don't know if I care about it as much. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. My Zen teacher just says, he says, motorcycle accident, car accident, cancer, death of a loved one, death of a family member. He just starts going through all these tragedies. And that was all he did. And I don't even remember the response of the practitioner, but he made a really good point. And that is the mind, even the seeking mind that says it wants this, it doesn't, by the way. The part of you that thinks it knows what this is, I guess I should be clear about that. I've said it before, so I don't know if you've heard me say it, but the part of you that wants to seek this, that wants to know what awakening is and thinks it knows what it is and chases it, that whole mental process, not only does it not know what it is, and not only is that not going to wake you up, it's not going to prevent the awakening either, but that is actually not telling the truth. It's not trying to wake up. It wants to stay asleep. Of course it does, right? Because time is sleep. When it takes time to do this, then you can stay asleep in that time, apparently. There's no time, but when you're believing it, thought after thought after thought, it's happening so fast, just like the film strip, right? There's no movement. There's no movement in a frame. But if you see frame after frame after frame, it starts to look like movement. That's how thought makes time seem to appear. So just know that the part of you that believes you want this and so forth, it doesn't want it. It wants to stay asleep. And that was kind of the point my teacher was saying. He's like, it's just a matter of time, because why do tragedies wake people up? Why do disruptions wake people up? Because they break you out of this. They pull you so deeply into the present, even if it's through an emotion you didn't want to feel, like complete helplessness, like vast grief, right? That's why tragedies wake people up. So getting leverage on yourself can be tricky, but you can do it. So sometimes I tell people, and Federico, I don't know what you've done or not done at all, but what I tell people is like, if you really want to get to the bottom of the whole thing, put yourself in a position that challenges you. Like go to a retreat if you've never been to a retreat. Talk to a teacher one-on-one who can really point you beyond all of this. But before you do any of that, really sit with yourself and ask yourself, is this really in my heart of hearts what I'm interested in, is awakening? Or have I just convinced myself that awakening is going to give me everything I wanted, even though I've heard 1,000 times it's not? I assume by now you don't, that's not you, that you don't actually believe awakening is going to make everything perfect the rest of your life and give you the perfect relationship and the perfect job and all that. I'm assuming you're not that person. But if you are, then yeah, maybe awakening isn't for you, because that's not what it's going to do. It's going to do what it does. So sit with that, feel into that. Is this what I really want to do with my energy? Do I want to see through? Do I want to break through the illusion of the small self? Do I want truth regardless of what it does. That's why I say sit with it. Go into your heart of hearts, ask this question and give it some time. Because every one of us goes through periods where we just feel the motivation has kind of drained out. It happens. It's because a lot of our motivation is ego-based, right? When that ego starts to, I don't know what the present tense for attrition is, but when the ego attrition begins, it just feels like, oh, there's the juice of life is a little bit, like usually I'm living motivated for the future, or the next thing. And when that's kind of gone, it can feel a little bland for a while, but that's okay. It's an adjustment. So you're somewhere in there, but just sit with yourself and trust your instincts on kind of where to go next. But if you need leverage, do what I was suggesting is like, you can get leverage on yourself. Cool. Infinite Nothing says, hey, us. Rick, howdy from Texas. Kevin, hey, from Vancouver. Good to hear from you. Kate G from Chicago. Thanks for an amazing retreat. You're welcome. You're so welcome. It was a blast. Lorraine, I so enjoyed the May North Carolina retreat. Thank you. It was a nice variety of activities and connected with many people. Good. Yeah, it was a fun one. Autumn says, hello, friends. Hello, Autumn. Good to hear from you. Trot to Tot says, when feeling overwhelmed, ashamed, fearful, I found out that the interpretation of this moment really influences the intensity of such moments. Right? How do you recommend to be conscious of framing? Just like very simply, don't overcomplicate it. What are the thoughts associated with this experience right now? That's it. One thought is appearing, one thought is appearing, one thought is appearing. When we're identified, they may be appearing quickly. Slow down. What thought is appearing right now? Well, there's a little sensation, a little tightness in the chest. The thought is saying, oh, this is sadness or grief. Okay, well, without that thought, what is this? Oh, it's just the sensation here. It's kind of moving up into the jaw, kind of moving out into the room. There's a buzz in the air. The buzz is in the body. Like, what are there any other thoughts going on? Oh, there's a thought that says, oh, maybe I'm enlightened. That's just a thought, right? What is this like without the thought? Oh, I can feel the hands, the feet, the body. It's all kind of intermixed. Yeah. Oh, there's an intensity coming. It's like fear, right? Intense fear coming. I can feel it. It's in the body, heart's beating fast. What are the thoughts? Oh, the thoughts say, you can't handle this. I can't handle this. This is too much. I won't be able to what if this doesn't ever go away? What if this lasts forever? Notice the thoughts. As soon as you notice those thoughts, you notice how innocuous they are. They're thoughts, right? So being open to becoming aware of thoughts as such, asking yourself what thoughts are appearing, and then noticing your attention can move down into the body, and it can pop back up into the mind and move back down into the body, and that's all okay. That's it. It's really simple. Yeah. Hey, Raven. You're very welcome. Ashley says, I'm so grateful these Q&A have YouTube notifications. It popped up and I was like, right, that's today. I totally forgot about it. You want to hear a secret? I forgot about it as well until this morning. Luckily, I'm in the habit now of looking at my schedule every day because otherwise I could easily overlook stuff. It's from Kate. Hiya. Kate from the UK. Hello, hello. Oh, you're going to be at the retreat. Cool. Make sure you say hi to me there so I know who y'all are. Deborah, hello. Jiris, hello. From Palestine. All right. Stay safe, my friend. All my best. My heart goes out to you. Kate-X, maybe? Kate-X. Kate-X. Hi, Angelo and everyone from Southwest England. Right on. So many people from England. This is great. Hey, David. Sombra Studios from Germany. Hello. Cherie Miller. Hello. All right. Bud. Anchorage. Hello. Anchorage, Alaska. Yeah, cool. Hey, Bob. From northern Alberta. Right on. John, where does ethics fit in with enlightenment, if anywhere? There's such a long story, right? Like, we could talk about it in a lot of different ways. My Zen teacher used to say this thing that was really nice, and he'd say, let me see. I don't want to screw it up the way he said it. he said something like Zen is above morality, but morality is not below Zen, right? Of course, it's going to be a paradoxical statement, but I liked it. And what he was saying is that realization does take you beyond conventional morality in many ways. Not just Zen, but realization does take you beyond conventional morality in many ways. And yet, if you're using the idea of being enlightened or the idea of freedom or the idea of, I don't know, fluidity or something to cause harm to yourself or others, then there's still some bypassing going on. There's still some lack of clarity there. So generally speaking, I would say don't completely discard conventional morality. There's no reason to. But don't be surprised as realization does deepen if you don't find yourself changing habits to some degree. Not that you're going to become violent or anything. That's not what I'm talking about. But your habits may change to some degree, or things may appear or happen that you would never thought had happened. And sometimes they almost need to happen. There's things that like you kind of have to work yourself through sometimes. And I can't give specific examples because it's just so different for everyone. But you will see this, that conventional morality is a thought, is a pattern of thought and belief that's shared among humans. And yes, it does have value to it, right? And there are many things that fall along these lines, right? Like, for instance, a corporation is a non-existing thing, right? A corporation is a set of agreements, basically. A club, a group, a nation, a family, a nationality. These are all just collections of beliefs and ideas and whatever, and they have their place for sure. But you will see through all of that. You'll be free of all of that, and then you can go back and kind of live it, move through those conditions with a different kind of freedom. And you can actually inhabit those conditions for the most part without having any problem with them. The conventional, let's say. That's the simplest way I can say it. I could probably talk about that for about 2 hours. It's a really good question. There's a really nice Zen koan called, it's the second in the Mumonkan, Yakujo's Fox. That's a really good koan about this. Check that out. This is from Thomas. Hello from Sebastopol. Jennifer, this is perfect timing. I'm sitting with so much anger and frustration in this very moment. It's been a tough week, so much reactivity, something to be very angered about almost every moment. Yeah, boundary emotions, right? Anger is such a boundary emotion. It's also, I've been talking about the archetypes because I've had James McCleary there doing a workshop on the archetypes, and he does this beautiful way of describing it. But there are these gateway emotions to the archetypes, and the gateway emotion to the warrior archetype is anger, right? So when you're feeling anger, just know that there's something going on in that part of your life, that warrior archetype, right? You could be rebuilding strength in some area of your life. You could be remembering your strength or your stamina in some area of your life that had been overlooked. You could be learning about new boundaries or setting new boundaries. You could be processing some old trauma that was about boundaries. I mean, there's a lot of ways this could be playing out. But if you look at it as maybe more of a constructive thing than a destructive thing, then there's probably a lot you can learn from it. And yeah, but primarily it's about feeling as always, right? Yeah, thanks for sharing. All right. Lost track of myself here. Where am I? Oh, there we go. Kevin, can you talk more on surrogates? Surrogates. In some of your talks, you talk about seeing surrogates like a relationship because you think it's going to solve the underlying feeling. I used to believe that a relationship would fix all my emotional pain, but now it's pretty clear that that's not going to help. And holding that belief actually keeps relationships at bay. Totally. Yeah. Surrogates. Yeah, usually when I use that term, I just mean starting. To understand surrogates and the way I speak about it, you have to start from the recognition. I won't say premise because I think it's a very real thing. A recognition that underlying our experience as a seeming individual human, there is something that just feels uncomfortable. Sometimes it feels really uncomfortable. It feels like suffering, maybe, right? Suffering is the word we often interpret it into, but something like unsatisfactoriness, like I'm not seeing the whole picture. Something's off about the way I'm experiencing life. Feels enclosed, it feels small, it feels isolated, feels like seeking, all of that. So the first thing you have to accept to understand what I'm talking about is that is the case for most or all of us. I would say it's the case for not everyone, but almost everyone, even if they don't know it, even if they're not completely aware of it, which seems silly that we can lie to ourselves like that, but we certainly can. So starting from that, then what happens is, because we're not fully consciously registering it, I think, then we also kind of not fully consciously address it. So we address it with things like, oh, but if I have the perfect partner, then all of this misery inside of me, like if we really think about this, it's absurd, but to put it this blatantly, all this misery that I carry around inside me, well, if I have that perfect girlfriend, this will just disappear. Why would we think that, right? Is she going to suck it out of you somehow? Is she going to take all your pain for you? To some degree that might actually happen. But if that does happen and you expect somebody to do that, then you're going to push them away at some point, right? Because that's not their job. And they're never going to be able to completely do it anyway. So yeah, we can have this expectation that perfect person, partner is gonna finally make me feel better, right? It's often, if we're already in a relationship, if I could just get my partner to whatever, see me more, love me more, be a better person, whatever, stop being a bad person, whatever we think our partner is going to change to make us happy, same thing. If you're carrying a bunch of trauma, you're carrying a bunch of anger, you're carrying a bunch of frustration, why do you think your partner changing is going to change that? It's not. You're still going to have it, right? Here's a big one, common one. Oh, well, it's easy for these billionaires. They have all the money. Everything's so easy for them. Millionaires, people with money, people with the privilege of this and that. It's like, if I had that, of course I would be happy. Of course I would, right? You sure about that? We have a lot of wealth in this country. And we also have a lot of uncomfortable people, a lot of depressed people, a lot of anxious people, a lot of repressed people. This goes on in a lot of wealthy countries, wealthy places, wealthy situations, wealthy people. There's a lot of evidence to the contrary, but because most of us aren't millionaires, it's easy to believe it, right? Oh, if I just had more money, if I just had all the stuff, you're so lucky. Yeah. Again, what that does is it says, I'm not going to address the discomfort I'm having right now. I'm not going to address my pain. I'm going to just pin it on something that's never going to happen anyway. Right. So you can plug that into anything. These are all surrogates. Money, fame, right? Chasing fame, chasing validation, chasing position, chasing power, chasing control, chasing the perfect partnership, relationship, chasing friends, having enough friends finally, having my family finally love me, like any of it. You name it. That's all surrogates. Even though there are a lot of surrogates, probably infinite number of surrogates almost, you could just almost come up with anything to pin your money on that says, sooner or later, I'm going to get that and I'm going to be happy. And it can seem daunting, right? If there are that many, especially if you're entangled in them. But when you finally stop and realize, okay, wait a minute. There's two parts to this equation. There's this part and there's that part. That part is the thing I think I'm going to get that's going to make me feel better. And then there's the part that doesn't feel good in the first place. Which does it make most sense to address? That's it. Then you're out of the surrogate business, largely. That's what awakening is about, in my opinion. It's about feeling that fundamental underlying dysphoria and then realizing nothing outside of me is going to make this better. Just not. Yeah, that's it. Good question. This is Ladika from Eureka. I've been doing some virtual outside circling. Nice. It's great to be part of those beautiful experiences and reinvigorates my faith in humanity. Awesome. Ashley saying hi to Jennifer. Raven, describing awakening using only words is like asking a PhD student to summarize their entire doctoral thesis using only emojis. Right. Exactly. It's a good analogy. Gareth, I've heard you say awakening has nothing to do with thoughts. Does an insight of realization not come in the form of a thought? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. The clearest way I can explain this is this. That's a really good question, though. It's a really good question because, again, like if there's anything I say a lot, there's a lot of things I say a lot, but this I say more than anything I've ever said. In fact, in my book, I say, I'm going to say this a bunch of times in this book. There's a reason I say this a bunch of times because somehow the mind finds a way not to hear it, right? And this is a perfect example. The insight is not a thought. This isn't about thought, right? The insight doesn't come and realization doesn't come in the form of a thought. It just doesn't. So if you're really curious about this, Gareth, like really look at it. What is there that's not a thought right now in your experience? When I tell you the insight I'm talking about is not a thought, has nothing to do with thought. The insight will arrive, clarify, hit you over the head, however you want to say it, completely independent of thoughts. So then that should logically lead you to go, well, what's here that's not a thought? Right now, what is here that's not a thought? What is in experience right now that is not a thought? Keep looking there. Keep looking there. Keep asking the question. Attune to it. I'll make an analogy, but don't hold on to this analogy tightly. Don't turn this into a thought either, really. It's just hear it and see if it helps. It's like when there's a lot of thoughts in the head, and thoughts are all made out of consciousness. They are, right? And so it's kind of like the first time someone looks at an ultrasound screen, like I do ultrasound blocks when I'm at work. They'll look at an ultrasound screen. If someone's never seen one, maybe they've seen one of a baby or something, but they've never seen one of like soft tissue. And they look at it and they go, oh, I don't see anything. It looks like a snowman in a snowstorm. When I was a resident learning to do blocks, or maybe not a resident, but med student or whatever. But when I first like see the screen, it did look like a snowman in a snowstorm. I didn't know what the hell I was seeing. It was just all white, gray, black spots. Just looked like muck. Couldn't discern anything, right? I didn't have the precision of discernment. Now, when I look at the screen, I put the probe on the patient. Most of the time, I'm like, oh, okay, there's the blood vessel, there's the nerves, like this is muscle over here, there's fascia. It's just obvious. This thing I'm telling you to do where I'm saying, look into right now, look into your experience and ask if awakening is not an insight based in thought, it doesn't arrive in thought, and realization, it does not arrive in thought, then what is it? Unless you think I'm lying to you, and I promise you I'm not, right? Then there must be something there. And I'm going to tell you it's so fucking obvious. It's the biggest thing there. But you've been looking too closely at thoughts, right? In a way. Thoughts are like a lens that narrow your attention. What I'm pointing you to is so big in a way. So the analogy I'll use with the ultrasound, it's kind of like at first it just looks like this snowstorm. So then you start looking really closely and you try to see like this thing and that thing and this thing and all these little points. And then you do learn it. You learn like, oh, that's darker, that's lighter. The lighter stuff is this, the darker stuff is that. And then you start seeing shapes. So you kind of learn the whole thing. This is like becoming aware of thoughts, right? It's important to become aware of thoughts or else you're just totally identified with them. Once you're aware of thoughts, at some point I'm going to say, hey, now that you can see where the blood vessel is and the artery and the nerve, now I'm going to say, just notice the whole screen is just all the same stuff. It's just light. It's just light. When you realize that that's what's going on up in here or here, like your whole experience of you is just that light of consciousness or that experience of consciousness, and you're able to stay there long enough and not use the narrowing of attention back into a single thought or an analysis as a life preserver, once you can do that, the insight will dawn. So, but it starts with curiosity. That's the best way I can say it in the moment. I don't know if that's clear or not, but good question. Ashley said, I spent an hour this morning when I first woke up just crying, emotional release. There's a story behind it for sure, but it's so nice to be able to just tea kettle things out. I love it. Yeah, it's just emotion, man. It's just energy in motion. Sam, hi, Angelo. I've been having feelings of burning and cold, wet sensation throughout my body randomly. Also, constant 24/7 visual static blurriness for the past 2 years. Kind of Kundalini type stuff, eh? And also some other health problems. Most of my health tests are coming back normal, so I'm wondering if the cause could be due to awakening. I think it could be definitely energetic and Kundalini associated. As you remember, I have a very energetic response to meditation. I do remember this. So I'm wondering if it's just nerve excitability caused by energetics rather than a neuropathy or something like that. I suspect that's what it is. I also suspect that some level of shadow work or trauma work will help you. Something along the emotion spectrum will help. Not that you need help, but I'm saying will help stabilize these concerns and maybe even stabilize the energetics of them. I don't know for sure, but that's just my sense of it based on reading everything. Yeah. Yeah, you can have some wild and crazy Kundalini stuff with this, like visual changes, involuntary movements, involuntary sounds, twitching, some people just have it and some people have very little of it, if none, if any. I do find often, not always, that it's related to some kind of resistance. The Kundalini energetics themselves are somehow related to a resistance pattern somewhere. Not always, but it's something to look into always, for sure. Thank you. JB said, oh, it was helpful. Oh, good. Okay. This is David. When meditating, do I treat feelings the same way as thoughts, peace, love, and rock and roll? Peace, love, and the eternal groove? Yeah, totally. 100%. More so even, right? They're closer. This is from a person called Maxime. Hi, everyone, from the Netherlands. Awesome. Hello, Angelo. Hope you're all well. First time joining the live. I feel like I'm all over the place, but getting nowhere. Okay. Number 1, books. January online retreat, tried meditation, inquiry, joined circling last week. I get some clarity sometimes, but nothing lasts. Life is very punishing over the last year. Meditation, retreat, inquiry. Okay. Major emotion is loneliness, low self-worth, and anger with some people I'm close to. Anger is something I'm dealing with through my life. Yeah. I would recommend you have a one-on-one teacher that you can work with some of this through. Work through some of this with. Chris Guimond, Josh, Chad, Eshwar, depending on who's available. It's helpful. It is helpful to have somebody to just navigate you through help you navigate through because it is so wild and topsy-turvy and turbulent when you're waking up fast. A lot's happening. A lot of trauma's coming up. Pain bodies coming up. Shifts are happening. Like there's so much going on. It can help to have somebody who can just kind of work with whatever's coming in this moment. Stay with that. Work with it. Things will settle. Something else will come. Work with that. Let it settle. And it's like that for a while. Yeah. Yep. It's helpful to remind yourself of what this is about for you, right? For none other reason than if we don't remind ourselves what it's about for us, we will assume through behavior and even thought habits, we'll like reassume that it's about feeling better or, so again, some surrogate. But if we remind ourselves, like really, I'm here to feel what's here in the moment. I'm here to be available to what's here in the moment. I'm here to orient to truth, however that needs to happen for me. I'm willing to be flexible, willing to feel what I need to feel, willing to do the shadow work. Just remind yourself. That's helpful. And when things are really turbulent, grounding exercises, feeling. Relaxing, doing things you enjoy. Go see a movie if that's what you enjoy. Whatever. Go to a museum. Whatever kind of things you like to do. Sometimes we take ourselves too much out of the conventional enjoyment, conventional recreation, things like that. Like do be kind to yourself. Yeah. Glitter Muse. The enlightened mind I just posted. Okay, hold on. I got to go back up. The video you just posted, your enlightened mind. Whoosh. We just surrendered to the wet, a deeper wet. Cool. I don't even remember what I said in it. I'll have to rewatch it and see. All right. Ashley said, I have the same imposter feeling with school right now. Yeah. Doing well, though it is just validating that I'm meant to be there. It's actually an interesting way to work with doubt. Yeah, totally. Jiri says, yeah, I'm tired of all the awakening stuff as well. I don't know if my interest in it was genuine or just another ego trip. Yeah, I occasionally bump into somebody who I'm like, I'm not sure that person really wants to wake up. More times than that, I feel that there's sort of mixed motivations. And Jiri's, I haven't reached out to you yet. I will at some point, by the way. But there's mixed motivations, meaning there's competing agendas. Like I want to feel better. I want to feel stability in my life. I do feel like a relationship part of my life is something I need to address. I know awakening is not going to address that. It's not. But somehow, like there's a competing agenda there. And so it can be confusing and we can wax and wane with our interest in awakening. But also I could say awakening is a very broad topic in the way I talk about it. A lot of what I talk about is shadow work. And you can always do shadow work. It's always going to ultimately result in a more stable, satisfying way of living, really, But yeah, there can be that kind of spiritual desert as well where you're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And on occasion, someone will just get to that and just give up, but they give up at a really deep level. Then they wake up. I've seen that more than once, by the way, where it's just like you exhaust your drive to awaken. You exhaust your mind that's been trying to awaken. And then you get to this place where you're like, I'm just exhausted. And then the shift happens, right? You do give up and the shift happens. So that's fine too. Don't worry, you can't fall out of the universe. DVD Mon, occasionally having pain that causes sudden fear or anxiety. Normally try to run from it either by planning or doing something physical to get rid of it. When it happened in the middle of the night, I just decided to merge with the fear and everything just got dispersed and spacious. There you go. Ended up falling back to sleep, which I couldn't before. Wonderful. This is the thing about pain too, is like we often don't just give it space, meaning we're kind of aware of it, partially aware of it. We're pissed off about it. I don't want to feel it, but I'm still trying to do all this stuff. Sometimes if you just stop, lay down, sit down, just give it your attention fully, it can be really transformative, And sometimes if the pain gets bad enough, you'll do it anyway. But it can be really helpful to just give it your full attention and go, okay, let's go. Go fully into this. Same with fear, by the way. Autumn says, it must have been jumping off into the deep and having inside circle the first day of my first retreat. Nothing but unconditional love and acceptance that was felt the week after that. Yes. Inside circle, man. Those guys are awesome. I'm so glad I invited them to that retreat. It's really been a nice addition. Mm-hmm. This is from Jimmy. I find it hard to maintain concentration, one-pointedness in daily life. Is it necessary for first awakening? No. No, because if you get in your head about like, I couldn't do it all day long, that's just a distraction. Instead, when that thought comes, just let that thought that says, I couldn't do it all day long. Is this going to help? Is this going to work if I can't? When that thought starts, just use that as a reminder to go back and just come back to your center, come back to the moment, come back to presence, come back to mu. See how that works? Use the thought to like slingshot you back. It's kind of like when they send things into orbit, sometimes they have to orbit around other planets and slingshot back. For instance, like the moon landing was like that. I think they had to do a slingshot sort of thing. Maybe I'm making it up, but something like that. Paul, what's up? Grover. Emoji, I like that. It's from Infinite Nothing. When I step back from the character, it feels wide open, energetic, and quiet. But it also can feel kind of boring. So after a short while, there's a need to be more action, for distraction. Any tips? Yeah, you're at this place where stepping back from the character, you might not like to hear this, but stepping back from the character is going to be less and less possible. In fact, at some point you'll realize you cannot step back from anything at all. As realization deepens and there is boundless experience, boundlessness means nothing pulls back from anything. Boundlessness is, right? So what I want you to do is investigate how it's possible that the feeling of pulling back, not as a volitional choice, because that's not what it is. It just seems like it. That's the thought. But the sense of pulling back, well, it's a thought, but the expansion you feel with it, the expansion is none other than the direct textures of experience, meaning sensations of the body, sound, visual field. See that, right? See that the sort of dissolution and expansion is also the sound, is also the sensation. That's non-dual realization, non-dualistic. And that can go deeper. The depth of that is really unfathomable. It can go deeper than you can imagine. It's kind of awesome. Good question. Beth, thanks for your comments. I have been on retreats before. Maybe I'm just more clear on the feeling arising. Really happy about being there. I've sort of given up the seeking, so it feels different. Nice. Frank, thanks for sharing this with us. You're welcome. I can relate to all the questions. Yeah. Thanks, Frank. Paul D. When Grover talks to, I'm reading the emojis here, by the way. When Grover talks to Wanda, is it really Wanda or is it Josh or Eshwar or Kimura? Can it be? Is it just Moo? How cute. Kate. Since returning from the North Carolina retreat, I feel a sense of expansion and childlike wonder. Everything feels intimate and enjoyable. Thoughts don't feel sticky, and something in my body is deeply relaxed. There's still a part that watches or evaluates. Any guidance on that? Similar to what I just said, actually, to, who was that? Infinite Nothing, right? Instead of thinking about it as a watcher or a self pulling back or anything mental, just notice it's a kind of sense of expansion or dissolution. And notice that expansion and dissolution overlaps with the sensations, overlaps with the sounds. Overlaps meaning they are like not two, non-dual. Another way of saying it is, and you're not trying to force two things together because there aren't two things apart to force together. So be aware of that. But it's another way of saying it is to just relax into the truth that what is the closest, the most intimate, the most tactile, the most juicy is also vastly nothing. I could call it expansive, but it stops being expansive and contractive here. It's more like endlessly dissolving intimacy or something like that. It's like more, gone, gone, gone. I don't know if any of that makes sense. Good question, Kate. Yeah. No, so she says also, there is a sense of no planning is needed. True. Yeah. Yeah. Ashley says, I have to admit I have very little desire to watch videos on this stuff now, but love the live stuff because it just feels like I'm present with my friends. I only watch videos that call to me now. Yes, totally. Glitter says, Glitter Muse says, the deep end. I am ultra curious about my body energetics transmission when with others, the subtle layers all dancing together in a benevolent soup feeding the world. Right action. Love it. Then you said thoughts. I don't know if there are thoughts about that. I don't have any thoughts about that. It sounds good to me. Love it. This is from Brontonimo. Happy Saturday. Let's see. Just finding myself here again. Gets harder and harder to find yourself, you know? All right. Okay, this is from Kebab. All the multimodality Q&A recordings were so powerful. Thank you for posting. You could feel the energy through the screen. Nice. Awesome. I will have those up. If anyone's here was at the retreat and they're not a patron circle, I will have those up for the retreatants as well, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. Ashley says, I seriously rely heavily on notifications now. It's kind of funny in a way. Yeah, I know, right? Bears Without Ears says, it feels to me that this whole mind structure developed as a byproduct of desire in order to keep pursuing pleasant sensations. Exactly. But sensations are impermanent and the truth periodically strikes us. Exactly. That's right. When pleasure and pain become merged, that's a whole different world. Brontonimo says, Ashley, hey, I know what you mean. I feel more energized on this chat. Jiri says, about a week ago, a few things happened that made me sad. Made me see how things I thought were true actually weren't. And that was a little destabilizing and made me doubt my thoughts and feelings. Yeah. Disidentifying from thoughts, this is important. Disidentifying from thoughts does not mean indulging in doubt, because doubt itself is also a thought. Does that make sense? But what can happen is when we lose trust in our thoughts, which itself is a thought, but what can happen is we can push thoughts away and push feelings away. So we don't want to dissociate. It's more like, again, finding that really sort of fine line at first until it gets more obvious between surrender and intention. The intention to see a thought as a thought, the surrender into the experience of the consciousness out of which the thoughts appear. Because you are that consciousness, like that is not apart from you, right? As your experience of self. Yeah. Good question or good comment there. Ashley says, that's a comment to Brontonimo, sorry. This is from Anna. What about metta meditation? Do you find that heart-centered practices are important for awakening? Any recommendations? If you're inclined to do them, for sure. I don't think they're necessary for awakening necessarily at all, but they certainly are helpful anywhere along this process for integration, and they can be helpful for shadow work, but we don't want to bypass, right? That's one thing that can happen is we can kind of get into a space where we're trying to, again, feel good emotions all the time, always feel love, always feel enjoyment, and then we can overlook, no, I actually feel pissed off. I'm actually feeling anger right now, right? So I don't think metta meditation is bypassing, but it could be used for bypassing if it's done to the extreme. So it's always good to look at what our motivations are behind what we're doing. Yeah. Jiri says, I'm tired of the self-analysis and all the healing stuff, even feeling my emotions. I'm taking a break from all of this. This live is an exception. Yeah, I understand, man. I feel you. Like I said, there's an intelligence to trusting our own instinct. And again, sometimes people have important insights and important shifts and different things from letting go, from just going, yeah, it's time to set this stuff aside. There can be a lot of reasons for it. You know, we could have just stirred the pot so much that all the trauma's coming and it's just disorienting and confusing. It could be that we've been attached to a narrow view of what awakening really is or what we think it's going to give us, and that's disillusioning. It's totally fine to take a break. Totally fine. You don't have to, and I think sometimes people worry, I don't think you are, but sometimes people worry, I'm afraid if I take a break from it, I'll never come back, or it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. The same reason, like, it's like, what is the reason you became interested in the first place? You don't know. How could you know? You can track it down and go, well, I suffered, and then I found this book. It says if I suffer, that's First Noble Truth. And like, you can track it down, but like, why did you even become aware of your own suffering? Some people aren't. So again, if you're already this engaged in this, there's probably something in it for you. But trust your instinct when you want to just let it go for a while. Let it go. You know, it's okay. Totally fine. Let's see. Glitter Muse. I would love more content about boundary or portal emotions and the archetypes. Okay. I'll keep that in mind. This is from Jigan. In your experience, how often does it happen that awakening happens gradually? I keep having pretastes, and at times sounds and objects do not seem distant. Boundaries are starting to disappear. You're good. Don't even worry about it. Do you need to know an answer to the question? Like, I don't know. It happens gradually. It happens fast. It happens usually a combination. Like I could say for me, you might say it happened fast. By the time I started inquiring, I was so desperate. I was suffering so much that it happened quickly, but if you counted the last 4 years where I was meditating every single day, a couple times a day, the whole previous 20 whatever years of my life that were just miserable, I was preparing for years, right? So it's very hard to say, but there's often a gradual and then usually a kind of obvious shift in identity. And, if you're experiencing boundlessness, that may have already happened to some degree for you or at some stage, who knows? But it doesn't concern me based on what you're saying. Based on what you're saying, I'd say just stay with what is. Whatever's appearing here. Sensation, that's what's here. Right? That sensation is boundless. It has no subject object. It's not coming or going. It's too real to be described by thought. Sensation. Sound, there it is. That's non-dualistic. Doesn't exist anywhere specific. It doesn't compel the belief in a person or a source of thought or an ear. It's just sound. It's clear. There's thought and consciousness, then there's thought and consciousness, right? The mind is moving. What is the mind? What is thought? What is consciousness? It's just this vast spaciousness with no beginning and no end. Pure being. That's it. Whatever's here is here. That's your practice. Shikantaza. Nice. And then Jigan goes on to say, I can go for periods without thinking, especially when sitting, walking, and dancing. But on the other hand, I still have plenty of anxiety when doing chores. Okay, when you have anxiety doing chores, I'm going to just give you one specific technique. Slow down a little bit. Thich Nhat Hanh used to say, when you're cleaning your house, do everything as if it was a rite. And he meant rite, spelled R-I-T-E, like a ritual. Do it slowly. I could say do it with reverence, but don't worry about the reverence for now. Just do it slowly. Feel, is there any tension in my body as I do this? Find the places of tension. Relax those places and continue to work with whatever you're working with, whatever chore you're doing. And then notice any thoughts that are coming. What are the thoughts saying? Are they saying, oh God, I got to get this done because there's more stuff to do later? Do you need that thought to do this chore? Can you do this chore without that thought that's thinking about later? Yeah, you can. Why don't you go try that, right? Once again, slow. How does the hand feel on the pot? How does the hand feel on the sponge? How's that sound of the water running from the sink? How is that feeling? How does that wash through experience? You can get so present doing mundane things. Yeah. Thich Nhat Hanh is great talking about this. He has a cool video where he's talking about a cup of tea that he's holding in his hand. And you can just see it's rather blissful. You could feel it listening to him. Yeah. Nice. Anna says, what archetype has desperation as a portal? Desperation is something like fear, isn't it? So the nice thing about the way, at least James McCleary talks about emotions, and I find it pretty helpful, is when we're talking about gateway emotions and so forth, there's a lot of things that are on a spectrum, right? So anger as a whole spectrum. There could be frustration, there could be impatience, there could be irritability, anger, rage, right? They're all on a spectrum, even boredom. Fear is anxiety, angst, feeling unsettled, maybe confusion, right? Grief is grief, sadness, loss, despair, hopelessness, right? So everything's on a spectrum. Yeah. Jiri says, celebrities look miserable. Most of them, at least. Carol loves Disney. Carol loves Disney. Angelo also loves Disney. I feel as though I have an internal engine running that feels especially strong when I awaken in the morning with a low-level constant buzzing in my ears. That's great. Yeah, just see if there's any thoughts imagining any of this, ears and engine and like the self-talk about it. And then just notice the buzzing can just stand on its own. It's the sound of aliveness, sound of being alive. It's the sound of creation. Rick Tate says, can a psychopath wake up? Yes, I think they can. Ashley, you couldn't pay me enough to be famous. I need my space. Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm not famous at all, but even the little amount of sort of notoriety or whatever I have from being online, I can see, I actually don't have a problem with it. When I go out to a retreat and everybody knows me and I don't know them and stuff, it's fine. I like to meet people and all that. It's great. But I have thought about, like, what if this was like your life every single day, to the point where you literally couldn't leave your house, or you're just swamped constantly every moment all the time? That'd be pretty miserable, right? Would you really want to be famous? Daniel says the space from feelings, body, emotions is part of the spaciousness you talked about. No. The emotions and feelings are the spaciousness. That's the point of non-dual realization. But the mental version of it won't see it that way. Mentally, it wouldn't seem like that, right? Because you're probably like picturing spaciousness as space and a body as a sensation here. Do you see how those nonverbal thoughts, those preconceptual thoughts, color your experience? But look into your direct experience, feel into your direct experience. Is the expansion and the sensations, are the expansion and the sensations different? Is the spaciousness and the sensation different? Right? The reason I said no is because, like, there's not space from the feeling. That's like starting with a presupposition and then trying to correct the presupposition. Rather, just see from the beginning, has there ever been any space aside from sensation, any space aside from sound? And with, as I mentioned, clear non-dual realization, you see that there never has been, and there never could be. Experience is always non-dualistic. Appearances are always non-dualistic. Jennifer says, thank you. Dealing with setting boundaries has been a challenge. I feel it's what's needed to be worked through the most. Yeah. So much fear around standing up, and the beliefs are deep. Yeah. People pleasing. Got to look into it. Many of us, not all of us, but many of us in this space will be way on that side of things. Very empathic. We'll always put other people's comfort before our own. But at some point, you got to address it. Right? Yeah. Yeah. I feel you. Jiri says, I'm so happy I found circling. Right on, my brother. I'm really happy you did as well. Bears Without Ears says, I sometimes feel a sense of craving to be, not to be something in particular, just to be. And when I try to inquire into that, it almost feels like there is a barrier that I'm unable to pierce through. What I recommend is going to my playlist called Consciousness and working with those exercises meditatively. Learn to meditate in unbound consciousness, and this won't be a problem for you. Louise says, I'm wondering about the gradual awakening too. Not sure if I've had an initial shift or not. It's been so gradual, I have hardly noticed. Definitely a pervading sense of equanimity that everything is. Everything is, period. Okay, cool. Yeah. What I've often found in people like that describe things like you did, and the previous person who mentioned this, is if I talk to them, they'll say, I don't really think I've had an awakening, I don't, whatever. And then I kind of go back and they'll say, oh yeah, so 1997, or that was mine, or, 2012. Yeah, there was definitely this time where it was like this, and then this happened and that and whatever. And I go, did something about the way you experience yourself fundamentally change during that? And they go, oh yeah, for sure. There you go. Right. So it's very possible you had one. I don't know if you have, but you can kind of look back and see that some significant event happened that you would not call awakening, right? That's the problem, is people go, oh, but I have an idea about awakening. No, it's not an idea, right? What you remember in your experience won't be what your mind thinks awakening is. Even when you go through it, it doesn't feel like what you think awakening is. It's not a thought, right? It's that starkly not thought. I remember it happening to me, and I didn't even have a preconceived idea about awakening, really. Maybe I did for a few days when I was reading the book or whatever, but I just didn't. I had no idea what the hell was going on. I just knew I didn't want to suffer anymore. But when it happened, it was so obviously not conceptual. I was like, oh, no way I could think about this would be this. I can see what the thinking apparatus was doing this whole time. It was constantly defining a reality that doesn't exist. Yeah. See? So when you're on the other side of that, it's a little hard to go back into thoughts to try to remember something that happened. And then the thoughts will go, oh, no, but that's not an awakening, because what Angela says awakening is this and this and this. But your thoughts are just going to filter it out. That's just what happens. But if you ask yourself, was there actually a shift in what I take myself to be? Or was there a significant alteration in my experience of I or identity or me? That's usually where you get an answer that tells the truth. Rick says, the indescribable inner being was found. Such a great joy in connecting being to being. Yes. Not an awakening I've ever heard of, but there is trust in the inner being and that where this is and how it goes is how it should be. So what Rick said here, the indescribable inner being was found. Such a great joy in connecting being to being. That is so obviously an awakening to me. And what's funny is those aren't even very uncommon words to use it. But again, like he's saying, not an awakening I've ever heard of. Of course not. It will never be like the thoughts. It just won't be, even though he's using the term being and indescribable inner being and so forth, right? The words, the thoughts, the explanations are just not even close. So it doesn't really matter to Rick. That's the beauty of it. Because he already knows. He doesn't even have to know it. It's just there. That's it. That's the beauty of this. That's what I mean by an insight that has nothing to do with thoughts. Because you could ask Rick, or I could ask him, is this a thought, Rick? Is this a thought that tells you this is happening? And I'm pretty sure he's going to laugh at that. This is from Jill. I was able to post a greeting, but can't seem to post my question. Advice, anyone? Well, you just posted a question. Advice, anyone, is a question. Let me look and see what's going on. Why can't you post a question? You just posted a sentence, 2 sentences. I'm not sure what to make of that. Sorry, I'm going to scroll down and see if I see your name again. This is from Now But Later. I feel like even real health issues are caused by awakening. They seem linked. Whenever I have an opening, my body fights me. At some point, it becomes obvious that that realization is not a part of life. Is not apart from life. Before that, we kind of have this idea that realization or spirituality is a part of our life. But at some point, everything is completely seamless. That's what I'm pointing to all the time, is seamlessness. Like, you can in one sense say there is no such thing as realization. Because what is not realization, right? Life, realization, not realization, awake, asleep, suffering, not suffering, gone. None of that stuff makes sense anymore, really. But that would lead me to a place where I have literally nothing to say at all, including that there's nothing to say. I wouldn't even say that. So I could do that. Did it for some years. Now I do this. Talking about what is impossible to talk about. Cool. Ashley, the emotional release this morning. I haven't even thought of it, but I wonder if that's why I'm so tired today. I thought maybe I had a migraine starting. The force doesn't feel migratory though. Migraine-y though. It's very common when you have a major emotional movement, energetic movement or release, that you feel really tired. When we're doing like circling, inside circle type stuff, when someone has a big shift, I'm calling it a shift, like when they do some intense, deep work, big emotional shift, they often feel exhausted like immediately. You can see it in their face and their body. You know, they're just like, such a relief. It's like, they're just so relieved. You know, it feels like this giant weight just got pulled out of your body or something. And so, yeah, the body can just start to relax really, really nicely. Louise O'Connor says, okay, I can't really distinguish emotions as I just feel strong sensations in my body. Great. Definitely an aliveness, but it's not bliss, just what it is. However, though I've been disidentified from thought, I still get caught in them, though they have no hold, just like watching a movie. Exactly. Can't seem to stay in the 5 senses long enough. Well, just look and see if you're trying to, in one sense, hold the senses apart from one another too much. Instead, just go the opposite direction Just noticing that the senses really have never been apart from one another. Like synesthetic. That's sometimes another way of approaching this, is just letting that synesthesia overtake you. Cool. Jiri says, I went to an ecstatic dance party for the first time last week. It was amazing. Good for you. Good for you. That's good stuff right there. That's what I'm saying. Do somatic stuff, do dance stuff, do relational stuff, have fun, interact with people. Yeah. Pamela, sending hugs to Jennifer too. I've been in this weird state of groundlessness and my mind is like an endless Rube Goldberg machine knocking around trying to find something to hold on to. The guarantee of failure is apparently no deterrent. Love you, Pamela. Louise, caught in them. Oh, that was the second half of your question. Let's see here. This is from A, just the letter A. It feels like there's a choice between resistance and acceptance, but choice doesn't exist. Can you explain? Okay. Is there a choice between choice and not choice? What is the nature of the choice between choice and not choice? Right? Because you're asking me about a distinction between choice and not having choice. What is the nature of that? Right? It's a thought. It's only a thought. Notice your body right now. Notice what it's doing. Is that a choice? Move your hand. Notice the hand move. Notice the hand move. Turn it over and over. Is there a choice? There's just this. Only the thought will say, oh, there's a choice, of course, because I moved my hand, I did this, I did that. That's a thought. Can you see the difference between the thought and this? It's really different. That may be subtle what I'm saying, or maybe it's not. It's not so subtle really, but good question. This is from Akshay, or Akshay. Hi, Angelo. Reading 3 Pillars of Zen. I love how practicing daily makes me feel present. Good for you. When I ask, who am I feel the whole of consciousness now instead of thoughts. Fuck yeah. Awesome. Makes me happy to hear that. I lost my comment space here. Okay. The rest of the question or comment feels like an identity shift, but I still can't feel the nature of perceptual filters over reality by thoughts. Over reality by thoughts. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. That's just another thought. It's just a doubt thought hanging around going, oh, but it's like trying to use some thought litmus test to prove that you're not as clear as you are. It's kind of funny. I can't even understand that question, so you don't have to worry about it. That concern, the nature of perception filters over. That's a thought. Go back to what you said here. The whole of consciousness instead of thoughts. Now, to the whole of consciousness, this is important in this moment. The whole of consciousness, does it exclude a thought? Can you just remain as that whole of consciousness as the thought appears? Of course. You never went anywhere. It's never gone anywhere. That consciousness does not come and go. So if there's a thought that says nature of blah, 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 then that's all it is. It's just blah, 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 blah. Just one more wave on this vast ocean. Rest as the ocean. Yeah? Inquire if you have to get yourself back to it, your attention back to that. Who am I? Whatever you need to do. Stay with it. Let it just take you deeper and deeper and deeper into it. Give this space. Give yourself time to do this and work with this. Awesome. Peter, how do you engage with shadow work if no shadow stuff seems to be available, necessary to work with someone to bring up shadow material? Not necessarily. Why do you, I would ask you this, why do you want to bring up shadow work? What is it that's causing you to even have that concern in the first place? Right? That's where I would look. Is it doubt? What's the nature of doubt? Is it a feeling? What is it based in? Is there a story behind it? Why is that a concern? Yeah? Good question. Ashley. Oh, responding to Jennifer, sorry. This is Replex Boy. Replex Boy. That's the name, username. It feels like every single experience directly points toward the infinite awareness in a way that was always there, but I didn't notice it until recently. Yep. Beautiful. This is Maybe Jason. Maybe Jason says, while watching one of your videos, I shifted from being the observer to seeing everything without the ability to find me. Cool. Clarity was profound. It didn't last, but it feels like it's still here. Awesome. Very cool. This one's from Odin. How to stop the looking. Was told I'll arrive once the looking stops. Was told to forget about all of this. I don't really know how to stop the looking. What do you think looking is? What do you think looking is? What is your experience of looking? Pay close attention to what's happening, right? What is your experience of looking? Is it one thought? Are you imagining yourself looking? Are you imagining a body or some eyes? Are you imagining space or distance? Are you conceptually thinking about looking? Like thought after thought. It's like, am I looking? I don't know if I'm looking. What is looking? Should I stop looking? Is there anyone actually looking, right? Look close at the looking. And don't worry about what someone else says and use it as a litmus test either, right? You know what I'm saying? Because how can you stop something that's not happening in the first place? How are you going to stop the looking if you find out it's not there? So find out if it's there. That's my advice. Akshay says, although I seem to be able to let go, I feel like understanding why I am doing it by exploring feels more relevant now. Sometimes I want to ask whether I want to awaken. I love exploration, though. I would stay in the exploration. Nice. This is from Nicola. I awakened 5 years ago. Things were great until 6 months ago when I realized all the spiritual stuff was just another bunch of concepts. Well, of course it was. What did you awaken to, right? Did you awaken to concepts or did you awaken to awakeness? Yeah. I have no interest in anything anymore. I feel empty and sad. Yeah. I think what actually more happened there was the spiritual identity fell away. A chunk of identity fell away. Not so much about concepts, I don't think. This is about concepts. But it will look like that, right? We still have some that we're kind of holding on to a specialness about spirituality. And when that goes away, it feels like a big part of us went away because we were identifying with it. But here's the beautiful thing. You don't need identity. The grief you're feeling isn't because anything happened. The grief you're feeling is just because it was there and it was not fully experienced yet. What I find is the really deep stuff, the deepest fixations in people that are around grief, that are around loss, lack of control, trauma, shame, fear, anger, boundaries, all this, but the really deep stuff that comes in late realization, it's all essentially developmental. It's not because of spirituality. And I think people make that mistake, like, oh, I woke up so much that I have this. No, that was already there. The grief was already there, and now it's just being processed very directly. So you're okay. Empty, sad is a feeling, right? You can feel sadness because it's a feeling, right? How do you feel empty? What does that mean? Empty is a thought, right? Empty is a thought that people often associate with sadness. That's why the word emptiness, although it's like good in Buddhism, to the average person, it's like if someone tells you they feel empty, they'd be like, oh my God, what's wrong, right? It's a concept. And we associate it with loss, grief, like losing everything, losing all the things we think we want, all of it. But look closely at that. These subtle thoughts and beliefs will still be even more so now, will be very distorting of your experience. Just feel that sadness, you know? It will change. Everything changes all the time. Everything's in flux. You're at a place now where you have access to something very few people do. An enjoyment of life that is is absolutely not available when you're mind identified. Yeah, you're still going through some stuff. It's okay. This isn't the final destination, so to speak. Okay, this is from Thomas. As a bisexual and having done tons of shadow work, I've come to a place of managing my attraction to men, no grinder, etc. Can you give me tips on dissolving it rather than managing it? I wouldn't necessarily try to tell someone how to manage or dissolve or get rid of a sexual drive or an attraction, because I just know you don't have to get rid of anything. It may subside, but it's not going to subside from trying to get rid of it, trying to manage it, trying to navigate it, trying to control it. That will just lead to probably more of it in some sense, propagation of it. This is why it's tricky to talk about like non-duality in terms of, and I'm not saying this is you, but in terms of things that are like addictions, things like that, because the control propagates it, right? So trying to control things like our fundamental bodily urges can get really sticky really quickly. And I find you don't ever need to do that along this path of realization, even to the point of liberation. It's not necessary to suppress, repress, manage anything. Yeah. If you think there's not a lot of clarity around it, for instance, if it's like some trauma response or something, that's fine. Look into it. Don't try to control it, but look into what is the association, what is the trauma, I don't know if that's the case either, but I'm just saying as an example. Yeah. Okay, this one from Odian. Notice that I generally have a tendency of being restless unless if I sauna, sounds nice, steam or workout, and was told that my general anxiety won't really resolve until after awakening. Any thoughts on that? My anxiety didn't dissolve until after awakening. That's for sure. But I can't promise you what will or won't happen with you. Restlessness at this stage of things is fine. Don't worry about it. No problem. I know people who, I wouldn't even call it restless because it can almost have a negative connotation. Some people are just very kinesthetic, is the term I usually use. They like to work out. They like to move. They like to ride bike. They like to swim. They like to work, they're physical people and they don't like to sit and they don't like to meditate. Doesn't mean they can't wake up. I know people who woke up very, very deep, profound levels of realization before they even started to meditate, really. It's not the majority of people, but I do know some. So you're okay. Yeah. The way you wake up is the way you wake up, and it's totally, totally okay. This is from MS. Hey, Angelo, I've been doing inquiry based on your videos for 1 to 2 years by now. Currently, I'm going through an interesting phase. During meditation, I almost always have an experience which I would call non-dual. It's very profound, and it feels like that's it. But a few minutes after the meditation, I return to default. Do you have any advice on that? Sticking to it and simply continuing, the disappointment realization that the realization was fake activates a lot of emotions. I would work on those emotions. I would work with those emotions. Disappointment, it says it activates a lot of emotions. What are the emotions? Also, why do you believe a thought? So let's say you meditate and there's just total calm and peace. I don't know what your experience is, but let's say there's just total calm and peace for like 2 hours straight, right? And you stand up and one thought comes through your head and it's like, oh, it's gone. Why do you believe that thought? Why do you believe it? And then the thought says, well, it happens every time. Oh, and now I believe a thought that says this happens every time. Does anything happen every time? Nothing happens every time. And then you believe a thought that says like, oh, what should I do about it, right? You see how this works? You believe one thought, you're going to believe the successive thoughts. Realization isn't something that's happening or not happening. Thoughts are something that's happening or not happening. Realization is just what is, right? Enlightenment just is. It's not like you're going to create it. It's not like thoughts are going to... Yeah, I mean, a thought that says enlightenment is not here, a thought that says awakening is not here, is just a meaningless thought. Does that make sense? I guess that's the best way I can say that. Okay. Oh, and the thoughts about time. I think you said I've been doing 1 to 2 years. Yeah, the thought's going to say that too. Oh, well, you've been at this for 2 years, blah, blah, blah. That's a thought. Thoughts don't have anything to do with awakening and realization. They're just what they are. All right. Bears without ears. He says, all right, Angela, let's get to the real stuff now. When will you make an e-course on how to channel the dead and sell it for more than $2,000? Because that's what we're all waiting for. Could you imagine if I started doing crazy shit like that? Teaching cities, channeling the dead, teaching people to fly. I love it. That's really funny. This is from Jill. Have not yet had first awakening, but often resonate with your videos for deeper realization. Should I stick with videos on pre-awakening? Jill, do whatever feels right to you, honestly. Yeah, do what feels the most interesting to you, the most juicy to you. You know what I'm saying? Trust your instincts. Go where you want to go. Go where you want to go. Give yourself permission. Ashley says, being recognized at retreat is so strange. It happened to me the last time I was Art of Living. I couldn't figure out how until people said they recognized me from sharing on the double barrel. I love it. Jennifer, same thing, right? People recognized you. Yep. Fresh baked tots. I like that you put people to sleep for a living and have to wake them up for a living, both career and to live. Sometimes I joke in anesthesia, I do put people to sleep, but I get paid to wake them back up. Yeah, that's funny though. It is funny. All right. From Toby. I'm a blatant narcissist using a projected persona to mask some overwhelming fears and insecurities. If you truly are a blatant narcissist, if you truly are a narcissist, like, first of all, congratulations for just being aware of that, because that's probably 90% of the path if you have narcissistic personality disorder or traits. The fact that you can actually admit that is huge. It's fixable. You can deal with it, you know. It's an extra layer of inauthenticity over the standard one, how to break through both layers. Like I said, number one, congratulations. And as a narcissist, then you'll over-congratulate yourself. No, that's a joke. Congratulations on just being aware of whatever your personality challenges are. Just like anything else, it's usually a conditioned response to trauma and so forth. Work with somebody who really knows how to work with them. That's what I would say. Work with somebody who really knows how to work with personality disorders, a therapist who specializes in them. Otherwise, you'll be in charge of the therapy, and you probably know that, right? So I would say work on that separately, or do circling, like inside circle style circling. Those guys work with the most traumatized people in the world, right? The absolutely most traumatized people in the world. That inside circle, they started with the gang leaders in the prisons, in the most dangerous prison in the country at that time. These were the gang leaders, like the big gang leaders. They were the ones that started it, right? So if you see the degree of challenge with which they started, and they got themselves to this place where they're the most amazing facilitators, and they can walk anyone through their trauma, anyone through their challenges, anyone through their self-centered personality traits. Like, yeah, I would say go do that. Go into it, but make sure it's a good circling group, like Inside Circle, for instance. That's what I would recommend. Those two things. And otherwise, don't overlook that. And I'm really glad you're not overlooking it. Yeah. Yeah. Akshay says, when I suffer, I stay in presence, and slowly everything becomes this unknowable oneness, and it somehow heals. Presence heals everything. Exactly. Akshay just described how suffering is literally the conduit. It is the path. It is the realization itself. Amelia says, struggling with trust after discovering some pretty heavy childhood abuse and struggling to be present after re-traumatizing my nervous system recently. How to get to the other side. Kind of the things I mentioned earlier, trauma therapy with a good therapist. You could try Chelsea. You can search my interviews with her and get her link there. I can't think of the link right now, but Chelsea is really good. Consider PSIP, and you can look that up. Find a therapist near you. or maybe you'd have to travel. But that's a very intensive, potent therapy, not the kind of thing you need to do for years. And trust that you actually have the capacity for this. You know what I'm saying? Like you have it. If you can feel every part of your body, then you can handle this. If you can feel I'll add one more thing. If you can feel every part of your body and you can notice a thought as a thought and not let it scare the crap out of you and dissociate, then you're good. You can handle this. Cool. Bears Without Ears says, is it possible to have an awakening without realizing it? Mind sometimes tries to figure it out, where blah, blah, blah. I've met people who've had awakenings and didn't know what they were, mostly because they had never heard of it, but they did have a shift. Yeah. Fresh Baked Tot says, I feel like I'm understanding more of what you and others say the more I experience it. But when I try to describe the experience, I'm often told I'm overthinking. How do I approach this overthinking? Don't try to describe. I would say I'm more interested in why you're trying to describe the experience. Yeah, I wouldn't describe it. Just stop trying to describe it. Really. What's the point? Ashley says, the exhaustion post release has happened more than once. It didn't feel like a big movement this morning, so I didn't connect the dots, but maybe I was bigger than I thought. Yeah, possibly. JB said, had a DMT experience where I realized all is God/one eternal. The ego came back online, but I know that to be the truth. I don't know if that's an awakening or what to work on afterwards. Like I would normally ask, did something about your simple moment-to-moment experience of yourself outside of that experience change? Like without recalling the experience you had on DMT, did something about you actually change, clearly change from before and after? That's what I would ask. Yeah. Your experience of self, your experience of identity. Jennifer says, my experience is the shadow work will come. I totally agree with that. Nomi says, free fall into the unknown, even losing concepts and direction, loving paradox, and yet it seems to know what to do when I need to do something. Where am I? Yes. Thank you for your comment. Nicola says, wow, thank you for that. You're welcome. I don't remember what I said, but you're welcome. I don't even know. My brain is so funny. My memory is just like gone. Okay. So you get back to the bottom here. Pamela says, yeah, I think that's why my mind is going nuts. Old layers of baked in grief and fear are coming up and the mind is trying to manage it. Oops. How to calm it a bit or just let it run. At this point, I don't even think it matters for you. It's over for you. I don't even know if there's a difference anymore. Letting it run, being the experience of infinite being the non-dualistic 0 point experience, it's all kind of overlapping, right? It's all intertwined, overlapping, interpenetrated, in flux all the time. Everything's changing. Yeah. I don't even know if you need to worry about it. It's where to put your attention at this point. Lisa says, I can't wait to see, Lisa, of course, piped up here. This is funny. Can't wait to see how you teach people to fly. Let's go. David and Elaine says, it's so beautiful and supportive in this awakening process to be part of this community. Profound appreciation for having found this space. Yeah, I want to say I appreciate everybody for coming, being unguarded, being honest, being sincere, being open, being vulnerable, sharing their pain, sharing the confusion, offering, what's helped for them, and then people offering their own expression of clarity that they really, I think, helps people who are a little earlier along in the process realize, like, yeah, you can connect the dots here with time. Connect the dots just meaning like with time, this will mature. This realization does come into a place of stability, clarity, stabilization, insight, peace, freedom. Yeah. Wingtag says, hello, everyone. As usual, thank you, Angelo. How do I know I am recognizing a thought as a thought and not suppressing something? Thank you. Okay. You're not going to like this, or maybe you will like this. The thought that says, how do I know when a thought is a thought or suppressing something? That itself is just a thought. That's just a thought appearing right now, right? You notice that? But it makes you feel like, if you believe the thought, if you don't notice it is a thought, it makes you feel like you have to make some kind of decision. Like you have to, is it this or is it that? How will I know? It's like a bit of a doubt thought. That's just a thought. Let it go. What's the next thought? That's how I approach this. Yeah, good question. Ashley says, I have never related to a statement so much. Things come up and then poof, they're gone. Yeah, right? David and Elaine says, Ashley, we would definitely recognize you at retreat. Yeah. Autumn says, I appreciate the community so much. You're welcome. I do too. Someone mentioned online circling. Can I get the link, please? Someone could post the link probably. I think there's at least one online circling group you can try. It may not be Inside Circle type. However, InsideCircle.org does have once a week an online with Rick Meisner that you can do. Most of it is going to be watching instead of participatory because I think he picks like one person a week. So there may be several people watching, but you'll see the process, you know. Okay, we're getting towards the end of our time. Jennifer says, I'd love to visit Canada and the UK to meet you all. I just got my passport. Sweet. Ready to go, but no time to do it. All right, everybody, I appreciate you. Thank you for your questions, your sincerity, your comments, all of the things. It's been a blast. As always, anyone who's interested in these, sustaining members and above, I do 2 a month at least. It's usually 2 a month. I do a live this way, and I'll do a double barrel non-duality with a special guest every month. And appreciate all of your donations. This helps us to do all the things we do with this organization. So thank you all. We'll see you at retreat or we'll see you on lives. Adios. Good night to all you peeps in Europe, and good very early morning to anyone in Australia.